one of the greatest things you can do, what I've learned and what I've watched in others who are super successful, is
this is my story. I still have to be okay with where I'm at and not get so crippled by where I should be by everyone else's voice on the internet.
Here's the way I frame excellence. And I learned this along the way. I didn't start this way.
And I think that's been the hard thing, is looking at people I look up to see how they did it and realize that might not work for me in the same way, if that makes sense.
When I blocked them out, life just became freer. So Nick, what do you think people in their 20s, since you're kind of surrounded by these people, is their biggest challenge today that they're trying to solve?
That's a big question to start with.
It's a big question, but you got the answer, man. You're surrounded by these people.
What they're looking for, could you maybe narrow that question down a bit?
What do you think their greatest desire is today? Because obviously there's somewhat of a disconnect in my generation and your generation, you know, which is 20 to 30s, right? And it's hard for us to come together and think, you know, sometimes we'll look at the younger generation and be like, man, they're just weak, you know, they're wimpy, whatever else, and they just don't get it. But there are things that just by age we're going to see differently. But the truth is, a lot of people in their 20s and 30s were hiring, and you know, business owners and entrepreneurs are looking for it because you're smart, you're driven, you're anxious to work.
Yeah.
And that's all great components. But the best way to grow a company, scale a company, or to do anything is to understand who your employee is or who that person is that you're working with, their desires, their dreams, their aspirations. And sometimes there's a disconnect to where it doesn't work well in the workplace.
Yeah.
What do you think they're after? What do they struggle with?
A big struggle, I think, is moving into like feeling like you're the right person for the role. So that imposter syndrome. I know that's something I've struggled with, is just like, I would look at a 29-year-old 10 years ago and think, oh, that's an adult. And now I'm basically there and I don't feel that. So I think wearing the mantle of being that person, but also having like, I think there's a new generation, I think we're showing it right now with podcasts, of like, this is how people are consuming content versus TV and radio. Like, things are changing. So I think young people have that mindset to see the opportunity that's ahead of them and how the world is evolving. So I know for me, I'm constantly thinking about like, how am I adapting to the opportunity that's laid ahead for me the next 10, 15 years? Like, I can't, and I think that's been the hard thing, is looking at people I look up to see how they did it and realize that might not work for me in the same way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The way that success looked or whatever, like, the world is constantly changing, and I think social media is a big part of that, you know?
Yeah, so I think I understand what you're saying. Social media sets a really high bar, and a lot of it is fictitious because it may not be true to what's really going on in life. You know, we put the highlight reel everywhere on social media. We don't put the junk and the dirt that we've been, you know, drugged through potentially, or the baggage that we have, you know, on some of the ones. If you're looking to follow somebody or looking up to somebody on their career path or what you may think is a success path, sometimes it's a false positive and it's not really true, you know, to what their journey was, because you're only seeing a highlight reel.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think again, I think the big, like AI was not a thing, you know, not too long ago.
It was not a thing.
Yeah, and so it's like, I guess for me, I'm speaking for people my age, of just thinking like, how do we go about the next 10, 15 years of our society, and like, how do we navigate it? Because the people above us, the generation above us, don't have a roadmap for it either, because they haven't been here. So I think that's the kicker, is like, and I think our generation is also so addicted to seeing like how-tos, because we grew up with YouTube and stuff. So it's like, we always had someone show us. But I think there's things that are approaching us that just can't be, you know, working from home, COVID, like that was a big shift in how our societies work. So I think there's just been a lot of things happening where, I'm Gen Z, I'm technically Gen Zennial.
Oh,
so
Gen,
I'm
that's a term.
Right on the line. I'm millennial and Gen Z. So there's just some things that I'm encountering, you know, in the past, I think 6-8 years, I've really seen a lot of change in just how the world is operating, and how that's going to change how I'm choosing to grow and paving my life forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think there's amazing opportunity ahead for people your age, but I think there's a lot of anxiety in that generation as well.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things coming so fast.
Yeah.
It's like, which do you choose?
Yeah.
You know, AI being one of them. It's adapting so quickly.
Yeah.
And everybody's shifting from like, Google. Now, Google who?
Yeah, seriously.
Just go straight to AI.
Which is crazy.
When's the last time you've done a Google search versus hopping into GPT, Claude, or one of those to search for something?
Yeah.
For me, it hardly ever. I rarely go back.
I think I use it for restaurants near me. That's like the only thing I use it for.
I even use AI for that.
Okay.
I'll say, hey, what's the best restaurant for this type of food near me in this zip code?
Yeah.
And boom, I'm like, hey, make sure you give me a link.
Yeah.
And you have it. So there's a lot changing. So I understand that. I think some of the difference is that in my generation of business owners and entrepreneurs, obviously it's all new to us as well. But we've been a little bit more seasoned because we're the ones trying to work with the younger generation who are actually the operators.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So for me, I would hire somebody like you who's much smarter, younger, and adaptable because you'll get it quicker than me. It's like a who, not how. If you ever read the book? Okay. So who, not how. It's basically around delegation and finding the right people to fit in the right seat.
Yeah.
It's a good book, but the point is, there's a difference in our generations from a business standpoint, unless it's somebody, in my generation who's starting a brand new business, then oftentimes I always say you have to wear all the hats. I just made a post today about, when you start a business, you have to wear all the hats, but if you do things right and as you grow, in time, you have to start passing those hats out because you'll never grow.
Yeah.
It's delegation.
Yeah.
We get stuck in that perfectionist system. I'm definitely guilty of it.
I have it too. Yeah.
It's hard to escape, man, because you feel like, and I always tell everybody, you feel like nobody can do it as good as you. And the truth is, most likely they can't.
Yeah.
But at some point, and I always reference a friend of mine, Dan Martell, who says 80% done by somebody else is 100% awesome. I'm like, yes, it is, once you experience that. But you've done a really good job at building something. So for the people who don't know you, hey, by the way, this isn't just Nick Wichmer, but this is Nick Wichmer, my nephew. And I'm super proud of him. And I said, Nick, you should come on the podcast, let's just have a conversation. And it was prompted by a in-depth conversation on a post. And the post was about feeling the guilt or the draw of commitment and how much work you're putting in. Are you putting in enough? And some of those things were founders and people who of any job capacity feel like, they want to grow, but should they take off? Should they not work Sunday or Saturday, whatever it is, and they start feeling that guilt, and it's hard to escape that journey.
Yeah.
So that's what we connected on. But Nick is a pastor, and he's a pastor at Cross Point Church. And the irony here is he's not a like young 20s pastor, yet that's kind of where he's fallen into really building something. So tell us a little about what you do.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about your title and how they're kind of segmented, but you've built a group, of people who are thriving at your church, and you're committed to it. I know you love them and are committed to that whole process. So tell us a little bit about that so they can understand kind of who you are, where you came from.
This is perfect because what we were just talking about is exactly where I was, and that the people above me didn't have a roadmap for what I was trying to do. So I went to school for business, didn't know what I wanted to do, but I always felt called to be in church full time. And again, a lot of my thought process is faith-based. So there was a position that opened up right as I graduated for content creation. So I looked at it as an opportunity to grow in the church, and I've always been kind of a creative. So I took the position, and it's been 5 years now. I've been at church doing content full time. But at the same time, there was also a need for our young adults. Our young adult group wasn't really thriving. So you got youth, you got kids, 5th through 12th grade, doing great. And then you have people who are married and have kids. But then there's that in between of like people in their 20s, fumbling through college, coming back from college, single, like where do I fit in? And so I always felt that need in my time in college because I stayed home, and all my friends had moved. And I felt, which in a way was a blessing because I became friends with people way older than me, which I found has been huge for me. But as well, I saw the need for people in their 20s. And so I remember I had a conversation with our lead pastor, and he was just kind of seeing how I was doing post-college, and I was sharing the need. And he's like, I basically started off saying, what if we did once a month events? And to see him be like, go for it, to see, a lead pastor I looked up to my whole life basically say, do it, dog. That's how he would say it. And I just remember as I was trying it, I would look for insight. And it wasn't that they didn't want to help me, it's that they didn't know how to help because it's never really been done before. And it had been done before, but what happened with young adults is that there'd be a leader that started it, they get married, and then it would crumble with the person. And obviously that's my hope that doesn't happen.
So you're saying, okay, so they would start single, and they'd be all in, and then they get married and have responsibilities and the wife and stuff, and it kind of just changes the trajectory of it. Yeah,
because I think it was more of a large friend group than it was in ministry. Basically, it's been 5 years of doing that as well, of just being consistent. That's been the biggest thing I've learned from this ministry. Was the first 3, almost 4 years were exhausting, and that guilt thing that we talked about, just feeling like if I don't give it my all, then if it suffers, it's because it's my fault. I didn't give it enough, and all of that, like just feeling like I was waiting for success. And but consistency, I found, was the biggest thing that I think has helped it. And I think that's what this group was looking for too, was something that was consistent for them, that wasn't flaky. I could talk on and on about all of the things that I feel like I've learned from building something from scratch that I didn't realize would be so needed.
So here's what's cool, because I've got to sit in the bleachers, so to speak, and kind of watch this grow with you and watch you transition and the different things that you've done. And I've seen the consistency, because as the kid Nick that I knew is like, hey, Nick, wait, what? Who? You're just a kid.
Yeah.
And then you turned into somebody who started gaining focus. And obviously that comes sometimes when you feel this pull into building something, which you did. Here's what I love about where you're at now. Number one, what you've built. Now, obviously, I always say nobody's self-made. So there's a support system that always comes about in one way or another, and people who were there along the way. So you may have been driving it, but there's always people who help us along the way to be successful.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure we're putting that in the right context. But with that, the group that you've built has drawn on other churches. And this is really interesting to me because, my background, I was youth pastor, sometime, and we worked to, build some groups another lifetime ago, but obviously a long, long time ago. And we were successful until, the church became unhealthy that we were in. Now you're in a much, much larger church. And now I hear of people who are going to your church for these events in their 20s and 30s who don't even attend the church. And that's pretty compelling to me, because it says you've found something that is striking a chord with young people, and that's drawing them in even when they don't attend the church. So it still gives them an opportunity to feed, to have connection. What do you think is different in what you've done than what other churches, in really large churches, we won't name names, that can't seem to make it stick?
Oh man.
What do you feel like is the driver?
Yeah, in terms of people that don't go to our church, I think, like I said, social media, that was a big thing. Like when I make posts, I want people to feel FOMO in a way, like this is what's going on, this is what we're doing. Very focused on people, not graphics. Like these are our people. You're getting an inside look on what it actually looks like. And I think that's helped. Again, coming from church, I had this conversation years ago with someone where I think anything related to God can sometimes excuse excellence. So you think about Christian music, I think it's finally gotten to a place where it's really pretty legit, but there was a time where Christian music was just the worst. Movies made for Christians, the worst.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I think it's because you put the stamp on like, well, it's for God, it's a good thing, He'll bless the rest. And I just don't like, in the Bible, David was excellent at his craft of playing the harp. And so I think God looks for excellence in what we do. So giving it my all in terms that I want it to be beneficial for the group, but I also want it to be fun, and I want it to look in a way like similar to things in the world in terms of like excitement, like good food, like things that are actually enjoyable and not awkward. And so I guess I'm just more self-aware of those kind of things because I've been a part of things that were really uncomfortable and awkward. And I could go on, but as well, having a team from the start, that was a big thing. And talking about delegation has been a huge thing. I started from having 4 to 5 leaders to now I have like 15. So learning to let go and trust people, because stuff like a welcoming presence, people following up, making sure people who aren't being talked to are talked to, that goes a long way too. And I realized I couldn't do that by myself.
Yeah.
And I was, missing out on opportunities to help people in my church grow by empowering them to do things. So a lot of things along the way, but I think excellence was for sure something that we tried to do for each of our events.
I love that. It's funny you mentioned like movies. Mm-hmm. So like the wife will pull up a movie. She's like, oh, this was supposed to be a really good movie. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is it a Christian movie?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no thanks. It's always cheesy as could be, even though the storyline, may be solid and they have a good point to it, but the actors and the acting is so poor sometimes.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh my gosh, this is cheesy. Mm-hmm. Save me from this.
I know.
But it's interesting because here's the way I frame excellence. And I learned this along the way. I didn't start this way. But I have a little bit of perfectionism in me. Mm-hmm. And there's
it's in the blood.
It's in the blood. Yeah. There's some good components of that, and there's some bad components of that. But what I learned later on is not to let it control me, number one, but also that when we want to do the best that we can do, that's being a good steward. Mm-hmm. And if you're being a good steward of what God blessed you with, each one of us has innate abilities that the other doesn't or may not have. Mm-hmm. And if we don't take those to the best that we can, I feel like we're not truly giving God the glory for what he's blessed us with.
Yeah.
Make sense? Mm-hmm. So I think everyone should strive for excellence.
Yeah.
And I think it's a mark that a lot of people miss because they just get it off their plate. And secondly, I think there's another layer of it, because one of the greatest blessings comes when you've done something well and you've done it to the best of your ability. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that applies to all things.
Absolutely.
So there was kind of a lesson, that I learned on my journey along the way that, first of all, how to manage perfectionism, but also that, hey, you know what? I have a responsibility to be a good steward and give God the glory in the talents that he's given me. And if I just do things half-average or just kind of sloppily, then what have I done? I've just told, God, hey, thanks for the gift, but I don't really want to use them to my capacity if I can just shuffle it off the table.
Yeah. To just real quickly to share something from that, there is a moment, and I think this could help people who are, they're building something, but maybe wasting time on something that doesn't need to be spent on. There was an event, we wanted to do an outside movie, and it was November 10th. And you would think November, it's like kind of...
Oh, that's risky, man.
Well, I thought it would be like, decent fall weather. It was the coldest day of the month.
That's how it works. Murphy's Law.
Yeah. And me and my friend spent probably 4 hours we had an outside projector with vinyl, and the vinyl was so cold, we had to stretch each button onto the frame. We spent all this time trying to build an outside movie, and finally night comes, people bring their chili, and we're hanging out. No one's watching the movie.
Oh, that's funny.
And it was the biggest lesson in that I have to stop wasting my energy and time on things that don't actually help what I'm trying to do. And I guess that the point is that I realized if I want to do this was only the first year of doing it. So I realized if I want to do this well, I have to make it sustainable for myself and for the people I'm working with, that it's perfectionism was in my head of, if it looks like this, I'll get the best out of it. But really it's it still would have been excellent if I would have just maybe skipped the movie and just had a fire and was just showed up and was consistent for that night. So that was a huge thing of just okay, what's worth my time? What's worth my energy that won't kill me a year down the road if I'm just constantly trying to make everything perfect. So that helped me a lot.
That's a good point. Yeah. And from a business perspective, because obviously our audience is primarily business owners and entrepreneurs, real estate agents, a lot of real estate agents as well. It's the same component, is they don't understand when to pivot and when to let something go. and they'll fight to the death over a task that isn't performing anyway.
Yeah.
So at some point, each of us only has X amount of time per day, right?
Yeah.
If you're giving it all away on all these tasks that didn't work, one of the greatest things you can do, what I've learned and what I've watched in others who are super successful, is let it go.
Yeah.
Know when to pivot and make a move, let it go, don't turn back and go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Because the more things you can try, the more opportunities for success you have. Now, I'm not talking about shiny object syndrome, but in your lane.
Yeah.
So like within the, the group that you have and trying to get them connected and those types of things, or whether it's the product that you're selling, same thing.
Yeah.
There have been products. So in the recognition business, there have been products in that business that I thought were going to crush it, man. And I spent an enormous amount of time, and we'd push the marketing. We'd keep trying to get it out to have higher exposure rate, paying for the ads. At the end of the day, after about 8 months, I'm like, man, it's just bleeding. Why can't we get this to convert?
Yeah.
So now, if we don't have, a conversion happening within 3 months, steady conversions, it needs to shut down.
Yeah.
It needs to go away. It wasn't a good product. Some of that can be seasonal with that business, but the point remains, you have to know when to pivot.
Yeah.
Try what you need to try, but had you not tried that movie, you wouldn't have learned the quality and benefits of having your time, because it was lost on something that nobody cared about.
Yeah.
So that was the product.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The exchange was a lesson learned.
Yeah. So what is it that you see today is what eats at you most these days?
I think I've been struggling with the nonstop information on social media. I think the reels, the constant things that I should be doing better can sometimes be like exhausting. If I'm speaking from someone from my generation and someone who wants to keep growing, the guilt thing would happen when I'm like, have I run enough this week? Or have I ran enough this week? Have I listened to podcasts this week? And then when you get on your Facebook or Instagram, it's like, here's 5 ways to do this. Okay, if you haven't done this, then you're failing. And it's like, sometimes I have to take breaks because I just feel like I'm always at a deficit when I'm, and then the algorithm just keeps feeding itself. So if I show any interest in that.
You watch it once, it's over.
Yeah. So
stuck.
That's been something I've been learning to observe other people, but not comparing myself all the time, to realize this is my blueprint. This is my story. I still have to be okay with where I'm at and not get so crippled by where I should be by everyone else's voice on the internet. So I'd be so interested to see just what's going to happen from people constantly having different ideas thrown at them all the time on how to get in better shape or raise your family right. And you would think it'd be helpful, but I feel like it's going to just cause so much insecurity in people for the long term. So I think being aware of that is huge.
It's funny you say that because you mentioned imposter syndrome earlier in our conversation.
Yeah.
That's what spawns a lot of that thought and that feeling, because you're seeing so much information coming across that you're measuring yourself by.
Yeah.
Even if you don't intend to, it just kind of happens organically as it's being fed into your mind, and your mind's processing so fast saying, hey, do I do that? Oh, hey, maybe I should be doing that. Or, hey, have I done enough of that? Whatever it is. Yeah. And it is constantly pulling on you. I remember years ago, and it was different, obviously, because it wasn't at the level it is today, but it was more of the news and some of the things that would come across TV that would produce that same feeling. And by the way, imposter syndrome is a newer term that hasn't been around for hundreds of years. That's a newer term that has come into the mindset and the emotional side of people explaining how they feel. And I totally get it. I think everybody experiences a certain amount of it. But what I did, and a lot of people also, and it wasn't my idea, it was something I heard somebody else who was a mentor of mine, and he said, look, I stopped watching the news. And I'm like, oh, you stopped watching the news? And it came a point where I stopped watching the news, because those things that would come across in the news, it was a little different, but it was still the same type of negativity and the pressures of the things that you would hear that would create more stressors and anxiety within me. So when I blocked them out, life just became freer. Yeah. In the mental space that isn't taken up by all the questioning, there was a study released that was showing the percentages of the new generations in how they lack focus. And they're stating the cause to be because of this.
Yeah.
Everything's a scroll.
Absolutely.
3 seconds. No, 3 seconds. 2 seconds. Now flip it. Watch this one for 10 seconds. I'll give it 10 seconds of my attention.
Yeah.
And it creates this segment to where everything has to be like that, but they're not really absorbing or internalizing much of anything.
Yeah.
It's just all this surface level flicking, and it's destroying their focus.
Well, even AI does that. It gives you the answer you want right away,
Sometimes then you're like, no, you're wrong. So, I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
I was wrong. So you can't win.
Yeah.
AI takes you down a rabbit hole for sure. It'll follow up with a question. Well, have you thought about this? Well, yes, I thought about that. Or no, I didn't. Can you explain that? Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then, well, here's something you should consider. I'm like, oh my gosh, just make it stop.
Yeah.
Now I prompt it and I'll say, I want one clean, concise answer. I don't want your opinion.
Yeah.
Just give me exactly what you can scrape, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it shortens it, condenses it, and I can get it off quickly and move on. But
Yeah.
it's crazy. But the point is, sometimes you're not really missing out, but we feel like we're missing out if we're not consuming.
Oh, absolutely.
And the truth is, when we don't allow enough space for ourselves, for our minds to settle, for our minds to kind of resonate on the things that are important to us, the task at hand, or those types of things, it causes anxiety. It causes imposter syndrome in a lot of different things, because we can't really be focused on what we determined was important to us, but we have so much coming at us, so much noise from different ways that it just creates a massive of distraction.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this has been just a recent thing I've noticed in myself. Is I'll get in trends where I'll take a break from social media, then I'll get back on it, and then I feel my anxiety and all of these things start rising, and I question why do I feel this way? And then I'm like, oh, it's because I'm on my phone all the time. And it kind of gave me this illustration of your mind is like a house, in that we don't often think about how everything around us is affected by this. Our life is affected by this. So it's like, are you cleaning your house? Are you leaving the door unlocked? And especially with social media, is you're letting, the second you scroll, you're letting random content be thrown at you. Instead of being intentional with what you're reading, who you're with, you're randomly letting anything into here, which then affects how you feel, which then affects your life. And I've just been sitting with that for a bit, because I'm like, that's one aspect, but even just the people I choose to be around and stuff, it's affecting how this is operating, which affects how I feel, which then affects my life. So I think just being intentional with how you're taking care of this is so essential,
Do you think that people your age realize that?
No. I think
I didn't think so.
I think a lot of it is just people get on autopilot, and especially in your 20s, you're just trying to get to that next thing. And I think because of my faith, it puts me in places where I have to slow down and get back to who God has created us to be, to be slow, to be mindful. And I think when I am, those things start coming to me to realize this is what this external thing is doing to something God created in me. I'm wanting to start a podcast. I've wrestled with it for a couple of years because of imposter syndrome. But I want biblical values because of how much people are scrolling all the time. And I don't think it's going to end, because it's free and it's addicting. So I think this is just how our world's going to operate. But if I can, I look up to people like Craig Rochelle and guys out there that are doing it. It's like, well, who's going to be the next guy to take their place? And not saying that I'm comparing, but just knowing that there's still a opportunity there. Anyways, so I want to be able to make content that I think speaks biblical values in kind of a shotgun, kind of just gets at you real quick to plant seeds for people. But I think it all started when I was in college. I came upon a proverb that is Proverbs 24, I think it's 13 through 14. It says, honey from the comb is sweet to the taste. Know also wisdom is sweet to your soul. If you find it, there will be a future and your hope will not be cut off. And I wrestled with that because it was I was thinking if I, nailed my degree, found the perfect job, did all the things that life should set up, that I'll be good, my future will be good. But then the Bible was telling me, if I find wisdom, then I will have a future. And it started just making me wrestle with well, how do I find wisdom? Well, I have to seek it. And obviously it comes from God, but I also think it comes from what am I putting in here? You know, what's leading me and guiding me? So it really started shaping the way that I was choosing to grow, choosing to build my life. And it didn't mean that, you know, there's still sweet things in the world that I have to be mindful of, but like, yeah, I think it's just, you're spinning your wheels to be satisfied by things that aren't actually meant to satisfy you. And so it kind of just, I think it really helped me navigate my 20s better without wasting so much time finding things that were sweet to my taste, but really finding the right things first that were meant to build this, you know, the way that it needs to be.
I would say two things to that, and I think that's very wise, pun intended. So first off, I learned early on, I stopped, you know, if you study Solomon in just parts of the Bible, you see wisdom is a high pinnacle. And so I stopped praying for, you know, God, give me this, God, I need this, God, help my business.
Yeah.
I prayed for one thing, and it's, God, give me wisdom. I just want the wisdom. I know I'm going to have the lesson, the way that you want to teach me.
Yeah.
And it usually stinks, you know, because it's painful. It's not the way I thought, because we just want it, you know, fixed when we pray. But I learned that what I really needed was wisdom.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know my history, high school dropout. So God's blessed me. He's blessed my efforts. There's been a lot of effort, but and a lot of failures. But God's blessed me along the way for taking action and trusting in Him, and He's always provided for me.
Yeah.
But I started praying for wisdom, because what I knew was all the things that I wanted out there had to change what I had in here to be able to see them, first of all, or I wouldn't have even recognized them. I always tell everybody I'm super proud of my library. You've been in there, but there's a significant quantity of books, and you know I'm an avid reader, and those books are what helped build wisdom as well.
Yeah.
Along with, you know, coming closer to God and seeking God and asking for wisdom, all those things, but they build wisdom inside of you. Yeah. They kind of clear the lens, the foggy lens that you wear, you know, as a young person, and it starts getting sharper and sharper as you go, as long as you keep feeding your mind. Yeah. So I think that's really so important and really mature, hearing that come from somebody your age, because oftentimes I'll work with people in I don't hear this kind of conversation until they're in their 40s, and they start feeling like they're running out of time. Usually about 48, they're definitely thinking it by then.
Yeah.
You know, because when 50 starts, they're like, oh my gosh, you know, I got 20 years, maybe 20 Christmases if I live an average life. I don't know, maybe a few more, maybe a few less. I don't know. You know, it just starts becoming clear that you went from 20s to now you're like in your 50s.
Yeah.
It could be a scary thought because it goes so fast.
Yeah.
With that, I'm going to bounce back to another thing you said, is you mentioned for 2 years, you've been talking about or considering or thinking about starting a podcast.
Yeah.
What's taken you so long?
Being in a place where I feel like I have enough to offer, some kind of advice or wisdom, and failure. And that's been, I've wrestled with that a lot too, learning the importance of failure and
fear of failure, fear of imposter syndrome. There's all kinds.
And especially like putting yourself out there on the internet. And I will say, the more that the internet has exploded and you're seeing people who are nobodies turn into somebodies. And it's not even about follower count, but just create a presence where they're building trusted followers and stuff. It's kind of like, okay, like why can't I do that? You know? So I think for me, you know, I think anything that gnaws at you long enough, you should eventually do it. Cause that's my biggest fear, is regret, thinking, you know, what if I would have done this or done that? Yeah. So I know right now it's like, I have the ability with content, like it's a niche of mine, but also I enjoy talking about biblical values and biblical wisdom. So it's like, if I enjoy it, it'll be more fun work than it will be like, so yeah.
Do you, do you care about what people think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
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 Do you think that you're going to start anything without criticism?
Right. Yeah.
You should see some of the comments I've had.
Yeah.
Man, people can be nasty, and they want to leave these ugly comments, you know, when we started the podcast, and I'm like, you know what? If it's not for you, who gives a rip? Go somewhere else, you know? But you're so small that you want to take the time to craft a really ugly comment instead of just moving on. Yeah. It says a lot about that person instead of it really doesn't say anything about you.
Yeah.
It's showing who they are.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, podcasting takes a couple things. Time, number one, investment, number two, actually you have three things. And the ability to allow yourself to grow through it.
Yeah.
So I can tell you now that the podcast that we do now people may think they're great. They may think they're terrible. I don't know. Honestly, Nick, I don't care.
As you should.
I'm just telling you now. If you're watching right now, I don't care.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, great. I get it. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
There's another channel out there, millions upon millions. But I've learned that the only way to get better is to start.
Yeah.
And you know this. So if you've had something gnawing on you for 2 years, you're damaging your confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
Because you know inside that you keep avoiding this out of fear. And when you do that, that's going to slow you down in so many other areas because it's like a disease.
Yeah.
It spreads. My greatest advice to you as a loving uncle is this: get to it. Get the podcast started. Start recording. Doesn't matter if it's sloppy, whatever it is, all the mistakes, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
You are still in good standing with God. Your heart is in the right position. And you never know how many people may hear your message that really needed to hear something that only you could have said.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So
I appreciate it.
I'm going to follow up with you.
Yeah.
Because this is how I coach people. And I'm like, hey, if you've got something lasting that long, there's your sign.
Yeah.
Get to it. And there'll be this fire that kind of burns within that gets you excited. Hey, I have a studio if you want to borrow the studio.
Yeah.
Until you get set up,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't care. You know how we started? Some of my favorite iPhone videos. Just we'll set up a couple iPhones and you can get 2 angles, cheap, easy. It's so much easier in all these fancy cameras.
Yeah.
It's so much easier. But
Well, yeah, and that's some of I'm taking a lot of what I've learned from building the group to seeing how it's become successful in my eyes. It's successful to knowing what it takes for a podcast, the consistency, the making it easy, still enjoyable. And especially with the comments thing, I wanted to get to a place which doesn't excuse me waiting too long, but I did want to get to a place where I was secure enough in myself to say, even when I hear comments, it's like, no, this is what I'm doing. And I'm sure I'll probably have to still deal with that,
Here's my opinion. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You're waiting because of fear.
Yeah.
And the difference is you need to experience the comments.
Right.
And the comments will thicken your skin,
Yeah.
harden you. The first ones are going to offend you, make you feel like quitting. And then at some point, you're going to be like, what is this person saying?
Right.
Now it gets to the point, and they don't happen as frequently, but I'll show somebody or I'll take a screenshot, send it to a buddy of mine or, Jeff or whatever else. And I'm just laughing because I'm like, who talks like this, man?
Yeah.
And why do they have so much time that they would say something so vulgar or whatever it may be?
Yeah.
It's funny now, but it was painful and hard at the beginning. But
Yeah.
had I not started it, I would never have, thickened up to where I just don't give a rip now.
Yeah.
I don't care.
You're right. You do have to experience it, I guess. You can
Yeah.
make scenarios up in your head as much as you want.
Oh man, you can tell yourself stuff, but until you actually go through it, it never changes. But it will be one of your regrets if you don't get to it. And I always say, people used to ask me about regrets. Do you have any regrets? And the younger, less mature, not fully mature, but the less mature Shawn would say, oh gosh, how much time do you have? But now I frame it differently. I'm like, nope, I have no regrets. And do I wish I could have done things differently? Yes, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But what I feel like when I say I have regrets, what it's telling me is I'm not being grateful to God for the things that I asked him for in my life, because they could have never come to fruition had I not gone through the path that he took me, that only Shawn had to go through when I thought it was junk or whatever else, to form what I understand today.
Right.
Some of the maybe ounce of wisdom I have in certain areas or whatever, that was necessary to create the product that I am today.
Yeah.
And he's continually chiseling on me and shaping me and forming me. So I feel like to have regrets is to say, God, I'm not thankful that you answered my prayer.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah. Or even to say that I could have done it better if I would have known. Like I could have.
Clearly I couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fair.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Hey, as we kind of land the plane, let me ask you one more question.
Yeah.
What is it that you think young folks could use the most from older generation that they're missing today, or maybe they don't even know? Maybe just some type of encouragement, or what is it that you see that maybe our generation could be more beneficial, more supportive of this age group?
Yeah, I mean, speaking for me, I feel like to see someone, especially if you respect that older person, for them to look at you and be like, whether it's empowering you with something or them trusting you with something, says a lot. I mean, the number of times, especially when I first got to preach a couple times, you know, my lead pastor trusting, he's not saying, hey, like, I'm trusting you with our entire church congregation.
Right.
You can't say anything. He's not saying that, but that's the message I'm receiving, is when he's giving me that. And so I think, and your post today kind of talked about like delegation, but I think you're going to delegate to people that aren't going to handle it well, but I think the people that do handle it well, it's going to maximize who they are as a person and their potential moving forward when they're entrusted with something that's fragile and important. And so I would just say, what was your original question, just so I don't change it?
Is about how can we be of greatest support to these younger people?
Yeah, I think just belief for sure, because I think there's still that struggle of seeing the belief in ourselves to do it well.
Yeah.
You know? So absolutely. Because I think that's all it takes sometimes, is just, hey, you got this. I think someone needs to hear that, because it's hard for us to do it to ourselves, and you probably would agree with that too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen, where can people find you, and how can they connect with, you know, the church and the group that you're building and growing? Because I'm sure there will be some young folks who this message resonates with, and, you know, they may be saying, hey, I'm in the St. Louis area and I'd love to be a part of a young group. How do I connect?
Yeah. Crosspoint Church, St. Ous. If you go to thecrosspoint.com, that will be the URL to find all things about our church. We have our young adults sub page on there, so if you want to get connected through Instagram and stuff, that's all on there. So that'd probably be the best, thecrosspoint.com.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put some of that in the description as well, so people can click on the link and find you. But hey, man, thanks for showing up today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That was a good conversation,
Really
and
fun.
I'm excited to see who's impacted just by your journey and the things that you're learning along the way.
Definitely.
We'll see you next time.
Sweet.